I have a bunch of makeup that is kind of needed to be tested, like the Viseart powder, the regular setting powder they sent me in PR. I have one of the new reformulated Givenchy Prism Libre powders, but I have a second one in common too. So I will not test these two together because I also want to pull in a new foundation. I got the Dior Forever foundation stick, and I know it looks like white paint, but 00 is the lightest shade, and I just know that the second lightest one is going to be way too yellow. And I also got the new contour stick, the new MAC concealer, one of the new Chanel liquid lipsticks. Yes, this is the darkest shade. I was very, very kindly sent the OG neutral mattes from Viseart and PR. They do have a newer version now of this. And I also want to finally cave in and test my Terra Moon shades that I ordered a while ago when their what was it called? Celestial Dusk collection. It's all in here, and I ordered 10 more to have a full palette here. So the makeup is actually not going to be very much in focus for this, so it's not like a first impression review or anything. You saw it in the title. This is Controversy Friday, and today's question was, what do you feel about dupes? Is it okay? How do you feel about like duping brands that purposely copy stuff? And I want to discuss this topic with you. Before we head into your answers, you can participate in the Controversy Friday if you follow me here on YouTube and on Instagram, because I do post the questions like sometimes a week before filming, sometimes just a couple of days before filming. It always depends on how I remember to post the question, either here on the community tab or on Instagram in the stories with the question stickers. But here on YouTube, of course, you have way more space to answer. So we have some very, very long and in-depth answers from the community tab that I am really excited to discuss. I did not read them. I just want to say that because when I then collect the answers, I only screenshot them without reading them because I want to like semi-live react. Of course, you scan the answers, you kind of know what's in there, but I'm not going over them sentence by sentence because I truly want to read them for the very first time here in the video. If you have never seen a Controversy Friday here, I do it like that. I do read your answers to the question, then I react to it, and sometimes I just like throw in my opinion in the beginning or at the end, or just sprinkled throughout the complete video so that we have a nice discussion. I want to give a little disclaimer beforehand because I think this is a topic that is going to make some people quite upset, I think, in either way. So there are those really, really hardcore anti-dupe people, and then there are the complete opposites, those one who justify every single dupe and who do not see a problem in certain dupes. I just want to stress out certain dupes because not everything is a problem, but we will talk about that. I myself, I do not use dupes. I am a luxury slash high-end slash indie girl, and I don't want to use drugstore. And there are from time to time comments here on my channel from people who, how do I say this? It is borderline lux shaming. Some comments contain things like, why do you buy this expensive stuff? Look at this lipstick, look at this mascara, look at this blush from Maybelline, from Revolution, or whatever other drugstore brand is out there. And they're like, you can have so much better affordable options. You do not need to promote these expensive makeup items. I respect that people are not willing to spend the same amount of money on makeup as I am willing to spend. I don't even bat an eye on, yeah, spending 260 euro on this, or on having spent over 1,000 euro on my Cleona collection, and it's growing. I just recently reorganized everything, and now I have I think 18 more spots, and I'm building up a wish list so I can shop them on Black Friday. So I understand that this is not for everybody, but I want to point out before we start that, and I think that's very important, maybe for my own opinion too. You are following or watching a channel that actively says, I, as a creator, actively say, I don't use drugstore. I don't want to use drugstore. I'm not into drugstore. I can appreciate drugstore products, like the new NYX Christmas collection with the swirled butter glosses. They look very cute, but I don't want to use drugstore. And as much as I respect everybody who's not willing to spend, I don't know, 140 euro on an eyeshadow palette, I just request the same respect towards me that is not willing to use drugstore. I hope that makes it clear. That has, by the way, nothing to do with the price tag. I personally don't care for the price tag. I just don't care for drugstore at all. I am a Luxe girl. I love the experience. I love the setting. I love the whole everything, and it's just nice. And I want to treat myself. I just do it. You know what? I just treat myself. And I just realized we also have a new blush to test, the new Chanel Le Tarot de Chanel. I have the lavender one that was predicted to sell out in like minutes, but as far as I've seen, it's still available everywhere. So as per usual, I scooched a bit to the side so I can show you the comments. And we are starting with the Instagram sticker answers. I hate that. I feel like they're stealing others' ideas. Very, very interesting thought. I agree partly with this, because there are definitely brands that, well, they very openly say that they are stealing, and we are talking about this in a second, because I think someone mentioned the brand in a comment. If not, I hope I can remember that I just said that, but not all of them, oh, fuck it, are stealing. I think some of them make just really good dupes for the sake of having something similar wise, ingredient wise. Not everything is stealing, so yes, partly I agree with you on that, but partly not. Sometimes it feels illegal to do so, like a brand that dupes all eyeshadow palettes. Looking at you, alter ego. I cannot process how this is how this is legal, what they do. I think there is a certain, I don't know, like a legal thing at what point duping is legal and what not. But personally, what alter ego does, in my opinion, is illegal. But I'm not a lawyer. I can only talk from a consumer's perspective, and to me this feels strongly weird. But I understand you. Never met a dupe I liked. Oh, let me think about that. Did I ever meet a dupe? Like, I'm not saying that I never did this, because I was young too. I was not born in my 30s. I was not born with a Luxe feeling. But I used dupes too. I remember when I was younger, like not younger, okay, I was younger. Oh my god, I'm talking about in my 20s, but I'm in my 30s. Oh, fuck it. But when I was around 23, 24, 22, somewhat around this age, That was the time when I slowly got back into makeup after a long pause of not wearing anything because of, I was working in gastronomics and in the kitchen, and makeup is just, for me at that time, it was just a waste of time to do because I would have sweat that off during work. And when I dropped out of this and got into office jobs more, I went also back into makeup. And back then, I just remember it was, the 2015, 2016-ish modern renaissance from ABH. First of all, back then, ABH was not very easy to get in Germany. It's not like today. And I was not able to afford a modern renaissance. And soon after that, Wet n Wild released a dupe, one of their iconic tan pan palettes, and don't ask me for the name of that tan pan palette, but that was color-wise a perfect dupe of modern renaissance. I loved that palette back then. Like, I really, really did. And 2 years ago, or 2.5 years ago, I finally got my hands on Modern Renaissance and I tried it myself and I hated it. I hated the quality. I hated the way this blends, this feels. And in that case, I really have to say, from what I remember, I liked the Wet n Wild shadows more than I liked the OG Renaissance. But other than that, maybe mascara wise, the Too Faced Better Than Sex and L'Oreal Lash Paradise. I'd say there is a distinct difference between those, although they are supposed to be dupes because they are literally the same. But Lash Paradise is a bit better. But honestly, these days, brands like L'Oreal or Maybelline, they are price-wise so high up that I don't even consider them drugstore priced anymore. I'd say they're a good mid-range. And dupes also don't have to be only in the price range difference. You can have dupes in the same price category, which is for some people even more a problem, which I don't understand. For example, these two products are dupes, the Natasha Denona Hygiene Serum and the Isamaya Skin Lac. They are literally the same product, but the Isamaya one is cheaper. And before you yell at me, I'm not talking about the purchase price. I am talking about the price per milliliter, because this is around 50 for 20 ml, and this I think is around 70, but you get 40 ml. So this is more expensive than Isamaya. Don't yell at me. Compare prices in also the same measurements, please. I remember years ago, I think it was 2013-ish, MAC Club eyeshadow was a thing at that time, and it was impossible to get in Germany. Not only Club, also the blue-brown pigments, or the blue-brown pigment. In general, MAC pigments were hard to get. And I was on the hunt for a dupe, and back then the Catrice, they had an eyeshadow that was a spot-on dupe. I found some dupes from Kiko Milano, and I think today these oil spill brownish green shades or brownish bluish green shades, they are everywhere. We don't need dupes of them anymore. By the way, I just now tapped into Terra Moon. And it's just insane how the times have changed. And I remember back then, when I then was in London on one of my free days there, I I straightly went to Harrods and went to the MAC counter and I bought the blue-brown pigment and MAC Club eyeshadow. And it was for years my only single MAC eyeshadow that I ever owned. And I used that sucker so freaking much. It was a good eyeshadow, but it was at the end not really special. But I also want to say that it was better than the dupes that I have seen. I'm okay with dupes in formula, but copied packaging is a no for me. Feels like pirated items. I think that is a good point, especially that formula thing, because let's be real. In 2024, it is insanely hard to invent a new formulation. A glowy serum, seen it 1,000 times. A pore filling mattifying primer, seen it 1,000 times. It's nothing new, but the question is, how do you promote it? How do you offer it to the audience? What is the purpose of the product? Where are you going to use it? What is your targeted like people group that you wanna sell this to, and how do you work that through? That is a very, very distinct difference. I think a good example for that formula duping thing is found just in skincare in general. There are so many super expensive products like Paula's Choice, for example. Their retinol serum, I think that bottle is 65 euro or something, but I can get a 1% retinol serum also from The Ordinary, or from The Inculus is the one that I do use nowadays. And it's like 16 or 17 euro, and it's probably the same ingredients. I haven't checked in depth, so don't come at me, skincare experts. I just looked for 1% retinol, and both do nothing for my skin. So, or like not that much. We had that topic about retinol already. But that's what I want to say. That is fine. They are, at the end, a very similar product, but it's not like copied. I love, by the way, the comments about this copying and feels like pirated items. Let me just throw in the brand Emco Beauty here. Robert Welsh has done just last week, I think, I will link that video down below, a great video on Emco Beauty. He has done one before, but now there is an interview with the owner of Emco Beauty, and I have never ever before seen such a off-putting brand owner than this piece of person. It is insanely how ignorant she is and how she thinks what she does is okay. And I will die on that hill. Emco Beauty is one of the worst brands that could have happened to the beauty community, because what they do is lazy. I'm sure. Because their formulations of stuff that they bring out, that seems to be very, very good. I have seen sponsored and unsponsored posts and reviews about the brand's products saying that they are very good. But the fact that they take a good formulation and then copy paste a product and advertise it like that, I'm just talking about their version of the Hollywood Flawless filter. That is so shady. And in that video, their lawyer was there, and he was like, yeah, but Charlotte Tilbury doesn't own the word flawless, so we can use the word flawless. Patent, whatever, pending or trademarked is only the combo of Hollywood Flawless filter or something like that. And he's like, so we can use the words however we want. Yes, you are right, but that still does not make up the fact that it's a straight up copy of the packaging, a straight up copy of the marketing, and you're mocking that brand. And in that interview, the owner was even asked if she feels bad or if she sees a problem in maybe even like destroying or hurting or damaging smaller brands with her ripoff, because she apparently did copy also the stuff from a smaller brand, from an indie brand. And she sits there like, no, I don't worry about that. She states that she does what people want and where the money goes. That is what she does. At the end, every brand does this, yes, but honestly, I cannot understand people who support this brand and who do adverts for them. So leave me alone with them, please. Thank you. I don't like it, but our whole system is built upon those things. Fashion is the most obvious example. If you say so, you probably are right. I am not so much into fashion and fashion duping and what is a dupe to what, so I cannot say anything about that. But yes, I agree with you. It is built upon this constant fight between brands, the constant fight for customers over prices and shit. It can be very exhausting, and I'm currently at a point where I cannot decide what I want to use on my eyes because they all are very, very pretty. I have yet to find a dupe equivalent in formulation to the original. Question is it then still a dupe? Or is it again their own version then of a product? The line between a dupe and just this is my version of this particular thing is just very, very hard to draw. I can understand not being able to afford the luxury price while wanting the experience. So that is from that same person who posted the other comment before that. See, that is the point that I do understand too, of course. It's the same with clothing or like bags. For example, I just bought myself a new handbag because I needed to. And that handbag was 300 euro. I don't mind that at this point. Years ago, I did mind that. But my opinion has changed, my taste has changed, and it's not that I was not looking for cheaper ones, but they didn't speak to me because I am looking for a certain aesthetic, and I was not able to find that certain aesthetic in cheaper handbags. So my husband was not very amused. The handbag I wanted is 300 bucks, but here I am now with a blood red Armani handbag. Hence, ripping off a big billion-dollar brand doesn't bother me. Ripping off a small brand is not okay, especially if they're doing something really innovative. Where do you draw the line and why is one okay and the other not? I'm sorry that I have to be now that critical here, but both is not okay in my opinion. Why is it okay to rip off a big brand but not okay to rip off a small brand? Honestly, I think it's not okay to rip off both brands. Just if we just look at this in the context of ripping off, I understand where you're coming from because a bigger brand, of course, they have more lawyers, they have the resources, they can probably just fight against that rip-off much easier than a small brand can, looking at the Pink Honey incident with Makeup Revolution some years ago. But overall, I don't think it is okay to say, or in my world, in my opinion, it's not okay to justify it like that. Yeah, if you're a big brand, it's okay to get rip-offs. That's definitely not the right way to do, in my opinion. Always keep in mind, my opinion, your opinion, we can discuss, we are adults, and we will not fight over that. Tacky when it's all they do, alter ego. Also, I would rather have fewer, nicer things. That is definitely also a way to look at this, to say like, hey, I like to treat myself with these certain beauty items or skincare items or whatever, and then I just have less of them, but I have only the good ones. And I have absolutely no idea why I applied my under eye corrector. My brain just went AFK. Okay. So no under eye brightener today, but of course some glowy stuff. And since I am testing the new foundation stick, I take the Hollywood Flawless filter because in my opinion it's the one that's the least glowy in my collection. We are done with the Instagram comments, so let's head over now to the YouTube community tab comments, and they are all a tad bit longer, so we have to read them sometimes passage by passage, but I don't think that this is a problem here. Starting off with this one. To be honest, when I was in my teens and didn't earn money yet, I was just too happy to have a cheaper alternative to the Too Faced chocolate bars, for example, or the KVD shade and light palette. I used to watch dupe videos immediately. Now I avoid these videos. 10 years later, I really hate flat out copycat products. It's okay if they're products with a similar formula or inspired products, but in my opinion, it just shows the brand's laziness and signals zero integrity of the brand to me. And I think that just applies to Alter Ego with their Huda rip-offs, to Emco Beauty with their straight up copies. If you have a great formulation, it doesn't matter if you're a high end or if you are indie or if you are a drugstore brand. A good formulation is a good formulation. You will always have a person, like a targeted market for you, but not everybody can love everything. That is completely fine. But this just copying, as you just said, laziness, pure laziness. Also, these days, the appeal to me of new makeup products is rather in the creativity and passion of the brand brings to the table. Hence my love for indie brands. Since I usually stick to my basic when it comes to complexion products, new products are 99% of the time eyeshadow palettes for me. I understand you. Can't lie though, from time to time I try dupes of products from bigger brands like e.l.f. duping Charlotte Tilbury, for example. Don't really care if the big brands rip off big brands. It leaves a really bad taste in my mouth though if a smaller brand, indie brand, is ripped off by a big brand. Luna Beauty being straight up copied by Revolution comes to my mind. Oh, that's a bee's nest now. Okay. Again, the thing, it doesn't matter if it's big brand, small brand, small brand, small brand, big brand, big brand. Blah, blah, blah. Ripping off is not cool in any of those constellations, in my opinion. That Lunar Beauty incident, yes, understandable, but Mark is also not that good of a person. Let's just say it like that. So, but what I have to agree on is Makeup Revolution is just as bad as other of these copycat brands. They do it the same way. It's so interesting that you talked about e.l.f. because I, for the sake of my life, was not shown this ad again. Otherwise, I would have screenshotted it. You know, when you tap yourself through the Instagram stories, sometimes you see sponsored stories from either influencers or from brands. And in the past 2 or 3 weeks, I have seen a sponsored ad in the Instagram stories from e.l.f. And that post basically said, $23 for a liquid blush, not with us or something like that. And then they showed their blush. And it was immediately clear that they are mocking on Rare Beauty. Because the number, the price is just way too specific. And I checked it on the Rare Beauty website. They are $23. Honestly, I think that is just so freaking shady. Oh my god, is this foundation white? Maybe I can use it better in winter. We will see. I love the shape, by the way. And this is heavy fragranced. Ugh. Brother, ugh. What's that? But let's see how it blends out. Definitely blends out nicer than I thought. But the fact that the foundation is lighter than the concealer that I used is really concerning. The last stick foundation, by the way, that I used was the Westman Atelier one that I really like, but I think it's way too expensive for what you get. But I think that applies just to all stick foundations. It's way too expensive for what you get, but I have to admit though, I love the way this looks. And once blended in, I don't think it's that light. It is a tad bit too light, so maybe half a shade deeper would be nice, but with some bronzer applied, that's totally fine to me. Whole appearance, aka Revolution, is shit. They copy one-to-one left, right, center willy-nilly. Big brands and small one-woman brands, and not even good. Again, the Pink Honey incident from 2 years ago, I think. If they would put half the effort to copy the design into formulas and just have products inspired by pure design copies. Elf gets inspired and has similar looking designs, but actually okay formulas for a cheaper price point. That's fine to me, as I'm happy for the teens to be able to get Elf when Dior is trending. The remixes, same style but difference from other brands, are great and actually very much appreciated by me, as I have allergies and most higher end or luxury products are fragrance like grandma's spare bathroom. So more variation by more brand means everybody can find the product for the money, skin type, allergies, etc. Beautiful point that you just said here, and I fully agree on this. And there is just a very big difference also, in my opinion, between duping and getting inspired. For example, the Elf Grip Primer. I don't... Okay, I think this is a true dupe of the Milk Hydro Grip Primer. It has the same effect on the skin. It even has a similar color, but it's a complete different packaging. And from what I've seen from reviews, the Elf one is better. They got inspired and they made a cheaper alternative. And here it comes down, I think, to another discussion. What is in fact a dupe? Because I think we use the word dupe so often that it actually lost its meaning. And I have to admit though, I just basically grew up in that YouTube beauty space where dupe was used for just a duplicate product, a copy product. But when you look up the definition of a dupe, and I did this today for the very first time, there is the informal version of dupe that is actually dupe, a duplicate or a copy of something. But do you know what dupe translates into German? It's very interesting that the verb to dupe something translates into betrügen, überlisten, which another translation back into English would be to cheat, to defraud. What else did it say here? To deceive. So basically, dupe is, when you translate it into German, another word for cheating, defrauding, and deceiving. I found that very interesting because if we look at it from a language perspective, we are talking about products that are deceiving. We are talking about products that are copying something, that are straight up cheating, but we use it in a different context. We use it for duplicate, for something that is similar but not the same. And I think that understanding of being a dupe is, I don't like the way how it is used today. Not because everything, or not because a brand is bringing out something that is similar in texture, similar in finish. It's not a dupe. Or is it? What do you think? How do you for yourself define a dupe? I think that is a very interesting question, because depending on your understanding of what a dupe is, you get a very new way of looking at products. For example, the Lisa Eldridge skin tint is a beautiful skin tint. I absolutely love this. But the Made by Mitchell Truth Tint is, in my opinion, a good dupe for this, because the finish is the same. The wearing time is the same. The colors are a tad bit different. The texture is very similar, tad bit more liquidy, tad bit more creamy. But at the end on the face, and that is where my personal definition of a dupe comes in, you can't see a difference between them. If I would apply them side by side, you would not have a difference in the finish. You would not have a difference at the end of the day when it comes to wear time. You would probably see a tad bit of a difference in the shades, because TT3 and I wear T2 in Lisa Eldridge, they are a tad bit different in their undertones. But that is what a dupe is for me. It is a product that is doing basically the same thing, but does not have to be the same color, the same packaging or something. Because if we go then into the packaging, we are back into copycat. So from that same person, it goes on. Baseline, it's okay to have inspired or remix it, but please only from big brands. Don't do that to indie brands. Plain copies without the flavor is shit. I disagree again. I just want to stress that out. I disagree on this. No. It doesn't matter what brand it is. It's shit all the fucking time. Also, dupe gets thrown around a lot. Oh, okay. But there are actually three types: design, color, and formula. Only when all three come together, it's a true dupe. Like the Victoria Beckham kajals and the Zoeva Velvet kajals. I think they're made in the same factory. Or if it's just a color but different formulas, it can be for more people. If it's just the formula but not the color, there's more variation to get if you like it. If it's just a design, well, I don't buy makeup up upon the packaging on my shelf. I want to use it. I think I explained the same thing twice. Sorry, I had some cider. I love cider. I haven't drank any cider this summer. Very, very interesting that you define dupe only when all three comes in, and I myself define a dupe when they do the same thing. It is just, that's what I meant. It is very, very interesting to discuss this topic because everybody has a different understanding on this. And that's why it gets thrown around so much a lot. By the way, I have the new MAC Studio Radiance 24 Luminous Lift Concealer. I love the Studio Radiance foundation, and of course I got the new concealer. I bought NC10, just like I wear in the foundation. I love the doe foot. It's a little round and it feels really nice. But it looks super dark and yellow. Why does NC10 look so yellow? Blended out, it's doable, but against that foundation, it looks straight up yellow. I personally appreciate it. I can't justify spending more than $25 on a concealer or on concealers, blushes, etc. Especially when they are good quality products. I think with both affordable and luxury brands, you can get items that are bad quality. So I think it's important to know that the higher price doesn't mean the better the quality. A luxury name means nothing to me. Also, there are luxury brands still today are not inclusive, and we know and we all know they can afford to expand their range if they wanted but choose not to. However, on a different note, I think the word dupe gets thrown around way too loosely. When I look for a product that is a dupe, it's not about the packaging but about the formula. Just because something is in a similar packaging doesn't mean it's a dupe. Very good point. Just because something is in the exact same color mean it's a dupe. Take into consideration about finishes and longevity. I think there's missing a word. So I feel the word dupe is a different definition for everyone as well. Yes, I absolutely agree on that. By the way, are y'all proud of me? Look at this expanding pan on my Makeup by Mario Soft Sculpt Transforming Skin Enhancer in Light that, spoiler alert, at the end of my focus box where this is currently in, is definitely going to be decluttered. Not because I don't like it, I love it. It's about the color. Light is just too orangey warm for me, but I still power through that. But look at that orange stripe that I have. By the way, do you know that girl on TikTok, whatever, and she starts every single TikTok with her applying this La Bouquet, whatever, lip balm. I don't like that girl, although I think her makeup looks and her whole aesthetic with this white hair is insanely stunning. I can't with her whole appearance. I can't with her vibrance or whatever. I'm not vibing with her. But that stuff, chef's kiss. And it's not as expensive as I thought. It's 17 or I paid 17 euro for that and I bought two immediately. They're very, very good. I personally think it's awful, specifically in the sense of the company that straight rips iconic palettes and calls them dupes. Cannot remember the name of the company at the moment, but we all know who I'm talking about. Pretty sure it's Emco or Alter Ego. I'm all for saving money and all, but I find it incredibly icky to take a product someone put time and love into creating it and steal it. Absolutely agree on this. And that is also the kind of duping culture that I don't understand that people defend. Honestly, how can you defend a brand like Emco Beauty who is straight up saying, yes, we do this because we can sell it, and you are just bullshit and we don't care about you as customer because all we want to make is money. Of course all a brand wants to make is money. That's fucking obvious. But especially I think in fields, in very creative fields like the makeup industry, like the fashion industry, a lot of super successful brands started out because of a creativity thought, because of a passion they followed, because of this this motivation from within that is just that's driving them, that is making them perform like nobody's business. This awful. The copies awful. If you remember last week, I used the Alchemist Highlight Intensifier from Virtual Defy as topper on my nose, and today I want to use it directly on my freaking cheek because oh, it looks so good. Imitation is the sincerest form of flattery that mediocrity can pay to greatness. Oscar Wilde. I feel duping formulations so there are different products at different price points is absolutely fine, but duping packaging, especially to the point you could confuse the product cough MCO cough, makeup revolution cough, not okay. I cannot agree more on this. Really cannot. I still to this day have not used the Refer AA01, the collab brush with Alexandra Anil, and I avoided it because I don't know what to use it for. It's a multitasker. I've seen some people using it for contour. I've seen some even using it for blush, a bit too small. But for highlighter, I can imagine that too. But I want to use this actually for pressed setting powder, and I'm using my Charlotte Tilbury brightening powder today. It's such an interesting brush because you have this flat side and it's even like tapered here, and then a more fluffy side. Honestly, I go in with the flat side first and then I tap it on. I basically use the flat side now to set the first layer, and then I pick up some more with the fluffy and I fluff it over it. It's very small as brush for under eye. Maybe I'll try it for highlighter before I decide where to put it. This one is tough because I know so many people appreciate having a way to try something without having the means to dump big dollars down the drain. And yes, I've even bought from Alter Ego to try their dupe for Andy Gold palette. That sucker was like $120 and I'd kick myself for wasting dollars if I hated it on my eyes. The problem I have with dupes is when the fat cats that have disposable income see smaller indie brands blowing up for a product and then mass produce it on a lower quality scale. I know we can't have it both ways, but that's my 2 cents. I will say though, I do wish Alter Ego would also put their own color stories too. I haven't tried them since they updated their formulas recently, but I hear they're nailing all the new ND formulas. I love the way they even rearrange ND color stories. They could go further in my opinion if they do their own thing too. Keep the amazing work, Al. We love you. Thank you so much. I love you too. I think you have some very, very interesting points. And you spoke about a point that I myself haven't really considered. What if you want to try a new color story for an eyeshadow palette, for example, where you are not sure whether you like this on your eyes, whether you like this on your skin tone? And I don't know why I didn't think about this. Maybe because I am a person, I know what color stories I like and what not, but I'm also not mad trying out new ones. And if I don't like the palette, I just resell it. Honestly, if it really goes down the drain, if it really is not that good, I just sell the palette. I don't have a pain with that because I care for my makeup a lot. I clean my makeup. I am very careful with it. And as long as it is in good shape, I resell it just. And I don't mind haven't wasted a couple dollars, because usually I try my very best to try a palette or product as many times as possible before I really decide to. Aside for when it's really bad or gives me a reaction, that's something else. What do we think about Silver Waterline? I think it's a vibe. This is Kicker from Colourpop. A affordable brand, by the way, just saying. But I of course need to somehow incorporate this red here. So yes, I understand the point that Alter Ego with its version of the Indie Gold palette is a option for people because the bigger palettes are quite expensive. Yes. And if you then don't like the color story on your face and the finishes, I get that. But the question here is, how similar, how spot on is that dupe really? Maybe sometimes you don't like the dupe version, but you will end up liking the OG one, because the undertones of the dupes are not even close to the real one. That's the thing. But overall, I understand the point. Yes, I totally agree on that. Yes. And honestly, I am personally a fan, when we're talking about Natasha Denona, that for a lot of her palettes, she also brought out baby palettes with only 3 shades out of that palette, so you can have a good feeling for the color story. And now the sun just all of a sudden just poof went away. It was covered by dark clouds. Okay, fine. I saw some reviews on German Reddits, for example, saying they had the baby retro palette from the original big retro, the purple one, and saying, I don't like the way this looks on my eyes. I don't like the purple undertones. Yes, the OG retro has 15 and not only 3 shades, but it's like the 3 most popular, the 3 most cohesive shades in that baby palette, so you can do a good look with it. And if you then don't like the outcome, you did not waste a lot of money. And sometimes these baby palettes you even get for free. So I understand where you're coming from with that. And I also, here in this comment, understand that whole an indie brand is doing something and then the big brand is going into mass production for a dupe of this, or for the same version, or something that is just even more popular and stuff. That one I totally agree with. That is not okay behavior. Alter Ego is the only one I can think of, but if the discretionary income was not a factor, would anyone buy Alter Ego palettes instead of Natasha Denona or Huda? I think comparisons seem to be fodder for some content creators. However, I find it hard to imagine someone decides to try e.l.f. because they believe actual Hollywood Flawless Filter is being sold in e.l.f. tubes. I suppose the effect of dupes probably raises the profile of both the OG brand and as well as less expensive brand. Perhaps it's a symbiotic relationship rather than purely parasitic. Only smaller brands make dupes argument, or predatory big brands rip off indie owners argument. Very, very interesting thought. Yes. That whole duping culture, and especially in times of TikTok and this constant try to get viral moment from some content creators, that can make both sides benefit from that dupe, actually, without the duping brand having this in mind, maybe. See, that's why I love the Controversy Fridays so much, because all of you bring so many different thoughts into this discussion. We all benefit from each other here. But this benefit is on purpose. Dupe brands used to bother me a lot, but now with the price of things, I may have to give them a go for certain products in my routine. It used to be very obvious that the quality was different, but now all these influencers are saying the dupes are the same quality. Oh, don't trust them. I'm glad they are around, though, so that everyone can try similar popular products to see if the original is worth the extra money to pick up for that. I think there's definitely a place in the market. I doubt that argument, actually, because even though it is a dupe, there is still that difference between that dupe and that original product, because at the end, both companies have their formulation down to that specific product. And while they might appear similar or while they might look very similar, you are trying two different products. I really need to film a new version of Netflix and Chill where I swatch shades like this. This is First Light. It's what I just applied on my inner corner, and it's wet looking with a blue shift, and I need to swatch you all those shades that look like this side by side on my arm. I love these. I'm so intrigued to set my face with the new Givenchy powder, but again, I do have another one in common because this is shade 00. And I usually use the shade 1 Mousseline Pastel, and this is Tulle Opalescent. And I ordered a mini of the new one. So once it's here, I will try that. So for the sake of testing this foundation stick, I use a powder that I know that works. I just realized while setting that I have dry flakes on my forehead that are actually not there. Could be the powder, could be the primer. So I use the Milk Pore Eclipse Primer, a mattifying one. Definitely need to go into further investigation with this before I can tell you whether or not I like this. I finally got myself a new lint roller here for my office because I always am messy with my loose powder. And when I then try to wipe it off with my hand, I just basically work the powder into the shirt, and then it looks like I have dirty clothes on the video, which, well, I have, but it's just because of the powder. So let me quickly do my brows off camera and then we will move on. I think I have only 2 comments left, but one of them is quite a big one. Every time I do my brows for filming, I only fill them in with a brow pencil and then go over it with a Glossier Boy Brow. I basically skip the brow powder, and that's the way Boy Brow actually works for me. I have too many points again, I admit. I've bought dupes and I will buy them in the future too. As a full-time student, I don't have money to spend as much as my ideal lifestyle would cost, and makeup is so important thing for me that it takes a bunch of money even if I'd only buy drugstore brands. In most cases, I do accept dupes. Many people are struggling financially, and I think everybody should be able to have hobbies they like, let it be makeup or whatever. Honestly, I believe there are also lots of error in many brands' prices. When there are good non-dupe products with tolerable prices these days, you cannot justify for me selling same type of products with tens of euros higher price. That's just greedy, unless it's an indie brand that has obvious reasons for a bit higher pricing. Hopefully you are not referring to Ansley Rain, because they base their price on numerology and sell you shit. But for example, Cleonet, they do hand mix their shit. They do hand press their eyeshadows. Yes, of course. But honestly, that comment or the argument on indie brands having higher prices, not valid. Not valid these days, since a lot of those indie brands, they stepped away from hand doing their stuff. They have factories. They are private labeled, most of them. Private label's not a bad thing, just saying, but they're not hand pouring stuff. I don't want to say all of them do this. There are enough indie brands who still hand make their makeup. Yes. We all have to be aware of the fact that when we decide to buy from a higher end brand, of course, the product, that's just a fraction of the price. You pay for the brand's name. That is just a fact. The Dyson Airwrap, the Dyson Air Straight thing, you pay at least half the price for the name Dyson. And that pattern can be found not only in makeup, it's in clothing, it is in kitchen shit. I have Le Creuset stuff. I bought one of the big pots from Le Creuset. Like, I'm talking a, not 40, I think it's a 30 centimeter oval pan. or like not pan, the Dutch oven thing. What is the English word? The German word is Prete. I don't know, like the big one, and then you have a lid. You probably know what I mean. And they're good. Of course, I like them. I have a lot of Le Creuset stuff, but I'm also a big fan of Skeppshold, which is a Swedish iron cast brand. And Le Creuset, that pot on the website was 400 and I think 30 euro. I got it on Amazon discounted down to 250, and they're still making money from this. So there is definitely, and it, by the way, it's not a like rip-off item or a weird fake. It is original Le Creuset. But at the end, I agree. Of course, there is a lot of air, but you pay for the name. Look what I have here, the Le Tarot Chanel blush. I'm very curious how this is going to look on my skin because this is a very, very light lavender blush. This blush is very, very powdery, wow, and very, very lavender. If you like that looking blushes, which I personally actually do, it's good. I like it. I like it even more than last year's limited blush. So, moving on. Speaking of it, there's also a difference in what brands are they duping. For hardworking indie brands, it is unfair to get stolen from because they are literally existing because of creativity. If there has to be dupes, they should be made of big and pricey, well-known brands. Their typical customers probably wouldn't care about dupes, while most of the dupe buyers couldn't buy original products anyway. If you are able to purchase original product, then there is stuff to think about first. But if you can only afford the dupe, then who judges? Many people also forget that different brands are not easily available everywhere. For example, it takes over 100 euro to get Huda Beauty's Empowered palette here, which is over 30 euro more on their website. They do ship here, but shipping and taxes rises the whole sum. Meanwhile, W7's dupe costs around 10 euro and is even pretty okay. That is a freaking lot, but yes, the availability is a thing to consider. Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes I hear people claiming products to be dupes, but I cannot see why. In eyeshadow palette, it is easy to see if a color story is copied, but how can you call foundation a dupe? Similar packaging is not enough because brands are not usually designing everything themselves. They're picking what they're like from manufacturers' options. If the product itself is plain neutral product, there's nothing to stole. Partly agree on that, partly not. See the Truth Tint and the Lisa Aldrich Skin Tint. I also want to point out again that this thing of an indie brand has a product and then a big brand copies it and sells millions of this. This is what I also find not okay. But the other way around is also not okay. An indie brand also should not steal from a big brand. And while you didn't say it here in that comment, I just want to point out again, it doesn't matter in what way someone is ripped off. It's not okay. I have a feeling that I might get misunderstood here, but I just think that ripping off in any direction, like high brand to indie brand, big brand to small brand, is just and not okay thing. Lastly, there might be principled reasons for preferring dupe over original. For me, animal rights are extremely important, and I'd gladly buy a dupe of animal tested and non-vegan product. Many luxury and high-end brands are not cruelty-free, and there are other ethical issues in companies. Same goes with many cheaper brands too, but you get my point. Dupes can offer option for conscious consumers. Absolutely. That's absolutely valid. About dupe brands themselves, well, I don't really understand why would anyone start a makeup business without designing anything by themselves. I know some brands might do couple dupish products for money, but I don't get why would any brand focus only in dupes. Well, Amco Beauty. If I had an own brand, I'd never let go of my right to be creative and freedom of designs, even if I knew I'd make more money with dupes. Makeup is a form of art. How can anyone take part of it without being creative? Amco. If you never drive a car, you wouldn't set up a body shop, right? That is such a good point that you made here, and I fully agree on that. I'm sorry, I might look a bit overly bright. I turned down the ISO a bit, but it's super sunny currently. we lived with that. And the last comment, for us in Australia where makeup is so expensive, sorry that I had to stress it out like that. I will say that about something. Dupes are a necessity. I bought 2 Natasha Denona copies, a set of brushes, and an eye primer from Alter Ego for the price of one ND palette from Sephora, just under 130 AD. And they work very well, and they aren't robbing clients from these companies as us don't have the budget to spend regularly on high end. Can still enjoy very, very similar products and colors, and every so often as a special treat, we still buy a high end one. First of all, why do you talk in we? Who are you talking also for? Please, and it doesn't matter what context it is, it's your opinion, and that is fine. You are not probably talking for a whole community. And I get this comment a lot. Like, Australian makeup is so expensive, it is so much. It isn't. I do not want to say that Natasha Denona is not expensive. Natasha Denona is a high-end brand. Pat McGrath is a high-end brand. Chanel is a luxury brand, although it's more high-end these days. Viseart is a professional high-end brand that in the brand themselves give you cheaper alternatives. Tom Ford is a very high-endish brand. Louboutin is a designer brand. You get that. I get that. But and I'm sorry, but I can't hear the fact anymore from anyone. They're claiming, oh my God, we poor Australians, makeup is so expensive here. It is not. It is cheaper actually than here in Germany. I just did the comparison with some popular known items. For example, I am on the Australian Pat McGrath website, and here is a Mothership 11 standard deduction. It is 213 Australian dollars. If I put these 213 in a converter, in a currency, I get €129.35. If I buy a Pat McGrath palette from the Pat McGrath website without a sale, I pay €130, 128 or 125. It depends on what palette it is. But never buy them without the sale. Natasha Denona is a commonly given example. Here, the golden palette on the Australian Natasha Denona website is 115 Australian dollars. 115 Australian dollars equal €69.84. I just ordered the Natasha Denona I Need a Warm palette. It is €72.95. It is the same price as in European countries, and I'm sorry that I have to be now so direct here, but I can't hear that anymore. Australian makeup is not more expensive than the rest of the world. They are in a very similar price range, definitely. What I do agree on, though, is the fact that makeup in the rest of the world is more expensive than in the States sometimes. But that is because of taxes, that is because of shipping, that is because of other customs shit. I am annoyed by that. I am really annoyed because I think the Natasha Denona, for example, is $65. 65 American dollar. Let me do the math here. What is it? US dollar 65 into euro equal 58 euro. So we pay 15 euro more. But that is because of taxes and customs and all the fees that are coming up. That's pretty common. Although I don't understand, especially when it's made in Italy. But that's a whole different topic. But please, do not claim all the time that your country has such expensive makeup. I understand that you and so many other people in that community, they are just like, hey, I don't want to spend in general that much money on makeup. I don't want to. I buy the dupes. Some of them can't afford that. And honestly, that is so okay. And that is where I also see a reason for duping products. But I have a problem with these straight up copies. It seems like no matter who you're talking to, Alter Ego seems to have a very good formulation, for example. And I don't understand why a brand like Alter Ego then is not doing something special on their own. Why do they have to rely on dupes? Oh wait, because they are non-creative shitters. That's just the thing. If they would use their formulation, that apparently is a good one, and create banger products themselves, can you imagine what type of reputation they can earn in that beauty community? I'm pretty sure that they would go off the roof and that they would be loved by so many people. And I am sure that there are certain makeup items that are more expensive in Australia than they are in Germany, more expensive than in the UK, but it's vice versa. There are also products that are more expensive in Germany or in the UK compared to the Australian price. That is just how world economics sadly are. You cannot have the same price in every country. It just does not work, so we have to deal with it. But please, please, for the sake of makeup, do not claim all the time that Australian makeup is so expensive. It's the same price range as in Germany. We are actually talking about the same prices here. And with that in mind, with knowing that, the reason to buy dupes is not because makeup is so expensive in Australia. The reason is, for me or for this person here, makeup is in general very expensive. So I'm not just willing to pay that price. And you know what? That's absolutely fine. That is absolutely fine. Everybody is so different, with so different standards, with so different views of the world and goals and loves and you know what I mean? And with the open world of the internet, we are just in front of the biggest library of knowledge, of swarm intelligence, of people with all those different interests and talents, and we have access to so many creative hats, to so many passionate people who will do the comparisons, who will rave about the product, who will give you the alternative that you are looking for when you just don't want to or you just cannot spend that money on a makeup item. I think at the end, we all agree on the fact that dupes have a certain allowance to be in that in the market, but there are just limits. Personally, my limit is the straight up stealing like Emco Beauty does. This is such a bad brand and I just wish that they vanished from the market. I think we can all agree also on the fact that everybody has a very personal definition of a dupe, which makes it actually really hard to discuss this topic objectively. Well, aside from the fact that nothing is objectively discussed, because no matter what you discuss, your subjective point of view will always affect it. But now we're dribbling into psychology again. I love this topic, this discussion, and as I said in the question itself, there is no right or wrong in this. If you love dupes, I love that for you. For me, my opinion just has not changed in that video because I just don't want to buy a dupe. I want to buy that full price product and I much rather not buy the product than buy the dupe. But that's my personal thing. And to end the video now, let's apply this liquid lipstick. And I don't know, should I use a lip liner with that? Because I have one that matches Night Moth from MAC that could work. Let me do a comparison, because this is Night Moth. Could be a bit too purpley. Yeah, that's more blue based. Should have applied a lip liner with that. They are definitely much, much thinner than I thought. And if I like the formulation on my lips, if I like the dry down now during the filming and during the day, I have to go back and get more of these, because of course they also have neutral colors, but I wanted to dig in with the most obvious goth one. And I really have to color in my hair. It looks like straight up yellow here. Definitely lip liner. There is not bleeding, but it was like a built up line, and with a lip liner I would not have gotten so high up and outside the lip line. So that is it for this Controversy Friday. Please guys, always remember, no opinion is wrong. We're here to discuss. You can disagree with me or disagree with the others, but you can also agree with me and agree with the others, and that is the siren here in the village. Yes, we have a siren that goes on every day, or no, not every day, every Saturday at noon. So we power through that now. But if you do agree or disagree, no matter what, please be always respectful, respect every opinion. I respect every one of your opinion. And if you are someone who buys dupes, I love that for you, as long as it makes you happy, because it is at the end always your money that you spend. You're not spending my money and I'm not spending your money. We all have our own budgets and we all have our own standards, and the only person we have to justify that in front of is ourselves in the mirror, nobody else. So thank you so much for all the answers and all the people who participated in that. I'm so happy that I have this very open-minded, this very discussion-friendly community here who just brings up so many interesting, cool points every single Controversy Friday. I'm very thankful for that. Please make sure you subscribe, and please let me know down below, how do you feel about the copycats, about the dupes, if you did not participate in that, or for those people who did participate, have you gotten some new interesting views of this? Let me know. Be always respectful. Thank you. Make sure to subscribe. And if you do want to share an opinion on that, but you want to comment to push the algorithm because you power through the video, use our secret word. And the secret word is lip liner. Thank you. See you on the next one.